to the Dawgs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast. Josh all alone with you guys. Happy Friday. I hope you guys have all had a great week and you're getting ready to enjoy the weekend. I am recording this a day early. It is Thursday currently in my world, and it's snowing like crazy outside, and I just hope everybody's out there staying warm, staying safe, and just counting down the days till we get out of this winter and we can finally get into the spring, because the spring brings the NFL draft. So what I'm going to do on today's show, go through my mock draft 1.0, the first mock draft that I'm putting out there this season. I needed some time to really go through the prospects, go through the process, get in the mindset of Andrew Berry, the Cleveland Browns, in their draft, and go from that perspective. So what I plan to do is do at least one of these a month. So, I mean, technically this would be my February mock draft. Wanted to get it in here before the month is over. And I will do one, at least one in March. I might do two, and then definitely another one in April, probably a final mock prediction before the actual thing happens on what it kicks off April 24th, I believe, on that Thursday. So I think that's the date. By the way, we'll be doing a big draft night show for the Thursday for round one, because the Browns actually have a first round pick this year. And not only do they have a first round pick, but they've got number 2. So that means we get our content in real quick instead of waiting till 27 or whatever it was the last time we picked in the first round for Greg Newsome. So I want to kind of walk through the details of this mock draft and selecting these players, the process, all that kind of stuff. Before I do, make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, tap the notification bell so you don't miss anything new, putting out cut up clips of all these prospects from all these different episodes we've done and different bits and pieces, things that you guys don't want to miss. Whenever our 500 episode celebration gets planned and rescheduled, make sure you've got that bell tap so you don't miss the announcement on that one. And if you guys want to get into our private Discord, help support the show, talk to Browns fans 24/7, play fantasy football with us where you can win a championship t-shirt like I'm wearing right now because I won 2 leagues this year. You guys need to sign up next fantasy season. Come in and beat me, beat Blake. This is the first year we've done the fantasy leagues that Justin did not win. So we need you guys to come in here and take the Dawgs down a peg. And that would be at jointhedawgs.com to become an official Dog Pack member on our Patreon page and get in there, meet everybody, chat it up. It's a great time. It's a great place to just hang out with diehard Browns fans from around the world. So when I was looking at doing the mock draft, and there was a couple things I wanted to take into consideration. I see so many people posting their pro football, whatever it is, pro football database mock draft simulator stuff on social media, and that's cool. That's fine. I do that kind of stuff all the time. When I got a free minute, you know, I'm sitting on the couch holding the new baby or whatever, and I can't really do much. I'm running mock drafts on my phone, just having fun playing around, seeing who's available at some of these spots and all that kind of stuff. But the big thing for me is if I ever see anybody post their PFF mock draft, disregard immediately, because PFF, while PFF is really good for a lot of things, like their in-depth analysis, the deeper metrics on players, the stats that they keep, really insightful, really helpful when we're doing the show and when we're talking about players and looking at things like that. That mock draft simulator for PFF, straight garbage. It is terrible. You could do a mock draft on PFF. You could trade down like 3 times in the first round, get to pick 27 or 28, and probably still be able to take Shedeur Sanders. Not going to happen. That's not realistic. There in no way in shape or form is that representative of the real world that we're living in. So what I started doing late in the draft season last year, I found mock draft or NFL mock draft database. And what it does is it collects the information from all the mock drafts being done by all the industry experts, all the analysts, all the scouts, all this stuff. And it's congregating all that information into one place and saying, okay, if you're picking, like for the Browns, you know, you're picking at pick 67, here are the players based on all the mock drafts that are being posted and done by the experts out there. These are the players that would probably be available in that range. So I like to use mock draft database, go in there and just look and see, okay, what players are projected based on this, algorithm to be available at this point in the draft. And then what do the Browns need? And at what point do I think the Browns are going to pick that position? This one's a little different. Obviously, it's my first mock. So this has a lot more of what Josh wants. It has a lot more of what Josh thinks the Browns should do, mixed in a little bit with the trends of the team and what the Browns are likely to do, not likely to do. But I can dive into some of that information here too. There's going to be some graphics on the screen. So if you guys are just listening to the audio and you want to see this stuff, head over to YouTube or Rumble, check it out. And you guys will see what I'm looking at here. So I put this together. This is Andrew Berry's draft capital allocation by position. So where are the Browns spending their draft capital over Andrew Berry's tenure in Cleveland, which would be the last 5 drafts, 36 total picks from 2020 to last year, 2024. So I'll just run through the numbers real quick by position. Quarterback, he's drafted 1 player. Running back, 2. Wide receiver, 5. Tight end, 1. Offensive line, 7. Defensive end, 3. Defensive tackle, 5. Linebacker, 4. Safeties, 2. Cornerbacks, 4. And kicker, 1. And I got punter on here just to make a nice even graphic because we've taken 0 punters, which is totally fine. I'm not worried about anything there. But aside from just, you can look at the chart and you'll see where the Browns like to heavy focus on their drafts. It's on the lines. It's that offensive line, and then they're heavy on the defensive tackle. 5 defensive tackles to 3 defensive ends, and then they're heavy on the wide receivers, and then it goes linebacker, cornerback. Surprisingly, linebacker is actually in that category. But I wanted to change it up a little bit, so I went through. You'll see a different graphic on your screen. I went through and I did the weighted. What are the weighted draft capital put into each position? So basically, I went through, for instance, I'll just start with quarterback. We've drafted 1 quarterback, and it was DTR, and I just basically went reverse rating for this. So if you were picked in the 7th round, that was 1 point to your position. If it was a player picked in the 1st round, that was 7 points to your position. That just kind of puts a weighted score and priority onto these draft picks. So at quarterback, DTR was the only one. He was picked in the 5th round. That's a weighted score of 3. So quarterback has 3. Running back has a weighted score of 5. Wide receiver has a weighted score of 22. So definitely a lot more draft capital invested into the wide receiver position. Tight end has a weighted score of 4. Offensive line weighted score of 23. So 1 point higher than wide receiver. Now this is interesting. So I was talking about the defensive tackles to the defensive ends. Like I said, taking 5 DTs to just 3 defensive ends. But the weighted scores, defensive end weighted score is 10. Defensive tackle weighted score, 25. So Andrew Berry, this front office, the Browns in general, they place a high priority, much higher priority into the defensive tackle position than they do the defensive end position in the draft, which I thought was interesting considering we just, on our last group episode this week, Blake talked about Mason Graham, the defensive tackle from Michigan, being a better or more priority pick for the Browns than potentially Abdul Carter on the edge. And this, these weighted scores kind of back up that sentiment. Linebacker weighted score, 16. Safety weighted score, 9. Cornerback weighted score, interesting, 16. So linebackers drafted, 4 of them. Cornerbacks drafted, 4 of them. And they have an equally weighted score. So I'll dive into that in a second. And then the kicker, Cade York, was taken in the 4th round, so he had a weighted score of 4. I'm just kind of go through my notes here. In total, like I said, 7 offensive linemen in 5 drafts. That is the highest drafted position for Andrew Berry and the Browns since he's been here. He has drafted 5 wide receivers. That's the 2nd highest taken position on offense, but they have never picked a wide receiver higher than the 3rd round. Now, they could buck that trend this year and take one at 33. We'll see what happens. Harrison Bryant was the only tight end drafted. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the only quarterback that he's ever drafted. So in 5 years, Andrew Berry's only ever drafted 1 tight end. Just something to keep in mind. Jerome Ford and Demetri Felton were the only 2 running backs that he has drafted in 5 years. Defense, I already went over the tackles and stuff. So this is interesting. Well, first of all, 2 safeties. just 2 safeties in 5 years. Grant Delpit was taken in the second round. And then the only other draft capital spent on the safety position was Richard LeCounte in the 5th round. So safety, not a high priority position for the Browns in the draft. It brings us to linebackers and cornerbacks because, like I said, 4 and 4, they've drafted the same number of each of these positions, and the weighted scores come out equal as well. So this notion that Andrew Berry takes a cornerback in every draft, I think Barry Shuck said that on our episode last week, and I agreed with him because in my head I was saying, yeah, he takes at least a cornerback in every draft. He does not. He's taken 4. He's taken 1 cornerback in every draft, except he did not take a cornerback in the 2020 draft. Let's see. He spent a 1st-round pick, talking about corners, on Greg Newsome and a 3rd-round pick on Martin Emerson. That's really it for significant. And when I say significant draft capital spent, I'm talking day 1 and day 2 picks. So 1st, 2nd, and 3rd rounds. And then on linebackers, he spent a 2nd on JOK, actually moved up to get him in the 2nd round. And then if you guys remember, Jacob Phillips was a 3rd-round pick for the Browns in Andrew Berry's first year here. So very similar in terms of that day 1, day 2 capital spent at these 2 positions. So maybe linebacker and cornerback are a little more on level playing ground than what we may have previously thought when it comes to Andrew Berry and what he likes to pick in the draft. And then, of course, like I said before, we punted a pick on a kicker. See what I did there? In the 4th round on Cade York. Barry Shuck mentioned perhaps the Browns should look into drafting another kicker with one of our 12 draft picks in this year's draft. I will tell you right now in my mock draft today, no kicker. So we will be kickerless for the mock draft. But I did double up on a position, and sometimes Andrew Berry does that. Last year he took 2 defensive tackles. He took Mike Hall and Jawan Briggs. A couple years back, it was 2 wide receivers. I think it was it David Bell and Michael Woods? Or was it Anthony Schwartz and Michael Woods? I can't remember. It was one of those 2 combinations. But I did double up on a position, and it's actually a position that Andrew Berry has not drafted very many of. So we will get to that here in just a moment. This episode is sponsored by Butcher Box for Pets. Browns fans, it's about time the Dawgs offered you something for the real dogs in your life. Our furry friends aren't just pets, they're part of the family. And you wouldn't let yourself or your children eat strange meat from questionable sources, and your dog shouldn't either. Right now, head to butcherboxforpets.com/dogs or use promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, to get 20% off your entire order. At ButcherBox, they believe in real ingredients. Their pet foods have been developed and certified by a vet nutritionist to contain 0 artificial flavors or preservatives. You get protein-packed formula with over 50% of the recipe comprised of third-party certified humane ButcherBox meat, plus functional ingredients like pre- and postbiotics to support your dog's vitality and digestion. And ButcherBox even removes the guesswork for you. Their custom meal plans are perfectly portioned to fit your dog's nutritional needs based on 8 factors, including age, weight, and activity level. I know my home wouldn't be the same without Odie, our 100-pound golden who thinks he's a 10-pound lap dog, and it gives us peace of mind knowing that we're giving him quality food instead of that factory processed garbage from the store. And speaking of the store, no need to add dog food to the shopping list ever again. ButcherBox delivers their high-quality food right to your door on the right feeding schedule for your dog. And you can change, modify, or pause your plan at any time. So head to butcherboxforpets.com/dogs and use promo code DAWGS for 20% off your order. It's time for all of us dogs to give all of our dogs the nutrition they deserve. All right, so let's dive into this mock draft. And the Browns sitting here at pick 2. I will warn you guys right now, if you're clamoring for Abdul Carter here or Travis Hunter, you're going to be disappointed. If you've watched any of our episodes lately, you understand, and you probably already know, you're not going to see a single mock draft from the Dawgs podcast this draft season that does not have Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders at pick 2. So for this mock draft 1.0, Shedeur Sanders is the pick at number 2, quarterback out of Colorado, 6'2", 215 pounds. And I'll just read a little blurb here from Pro Football Network from their draft simulator. I really like the write-ups they do on these guys. So they said, Shedeur Sanders represents the modern evolution of the pocket passer, poised, accurate, and fundamentally sound. While not an elite athlete like his father, Deion Sanders, he's mobile enough to extend plays. His compact release and elite accuracy make up for an average arm, allowing him to thrive in tight pockets. Though he struggles under pressure and holds the ball too long, his repeatable mechanics and high floor make him a promising NFL prospect. And when your biggest need every single year, year in and year out for the last 30 years is quarterback, you take that quarterback. So that's pick 2. So now we move on. Round 2, pick 1, pick 33. Let me reverse the order here that I said that. Pick 33, which is the first pick in the second round. And I took Josh Conerly Jr., the offensive tackle out of Oregon. First of all, he's got a great first name. I always love people named Josh. That's awesome. 6'4", 305 pounds. The write-up, Josh Conerly Jr. is an athletic and technically proficient offensive tackle recognized for his dynamic movement skills and effective pass protection. As a 2-year starter at left tackle for Oregon, there you go, we got ourselves a left tackle. He demonstrated consistent performance, allowing only 1 sack over 521 pass blocking snaps in the 2024 season. That's awesome. Conerly excels in both run and pass blocking, utilizing his quick footwork and strong hand placement to neutralize defenders. However, he occasionally struggles against more powerful rushers, indicating he needs to enhance his play strength. Again, 305 is the weight. If he can pack on maybe 15 extra pounds or so, get up to 320, 325, that would help him. Conerly's combination of athleticism and technical skill positions him as a promising offensive line prospect. He's one of the guys I really do like. And again, we've talked about this. This draft is super deep at all these positions the Browns really need, except for quarterback. That's why it's just another plug for why they need to take the quarterback first, get that done, because if you pass on it at 2, you're not getting one in this draft that even has, yes, could they get lucky and draft, Tyler Shaw later on, or Will Howard, and oh my gosh, this guy turned into a Pro Bowl quarterback? Sure. Yeah, things like that happen every now and again. Am I banking on it? Hell no. I am taking one of the top 2 prospects in the draft with my number 2 overall pick, and I'm calling it good. Because, yes, I like Will Campbell, and I like Kelvin Banks, and I like some of these other offensive tackles, but when a guy like Josh Conerly Jr. is projected to be available at that first pick in the second round, like sometimes he gets mocked in the first round, sometimes it's like second round. If he's available at 33, I know Blake would be pounding the table for Travion Henderson or, a running back here, a skill position guy. I'll take the left tackle here because I think Josh Conerly Jr., you get a starting caliber, has a high ceiling, and you take that left tackle now. And, if he's a little not ready for the season, to start right away, okay, then you start DeJuan Jones at left tackle and you let Conerly be the backup until he kind of gets up to speed. And if he comes into camp and it's like, wow, this kid's got it, like he's the dude, then you stick him there and you let DeJuan Jones be your swing tackle because he can play both positions now. Either way, that's the move that I'm taking in this mock draft for the Browns at pick 33. Moving on now to pick 67, the third pick in the third round, I took Kaleb Johnson, the running back out of Iowa. This is a guy that, quite honestly, I don't know if he'll even be available at 67 by the time the draft comes around. So I got a couple different philosophies and thought processes here with these running backs. Is this draft, and I'm serious, if you guys are not up to speed with the names and the people in this draft, the players and all that kind of stuff, just understand I am dead serious about this. I have never seen a draft class with this many high caliber running backs in the draft. This year is absolutely insane because there are, one of these episodes, I'll just have to list all the names of all the running backs that I would love to see on the Browns. It's not like there's 4 or 5. I'm talking 10, 12 names that if the Browns got one of those, I would be pumped because they're all that good in terms of potential and everything. So I'd say Kaleb Johnson here at 67. Like I said, after the combine and stuff, depending on what this kid runs, and they're projecting him to run pretty well, he could get up into the middle of the second round or something like that. So he might not be available at 67, but here right now in February, according to Mock Draft Database, he is available around that pick 67 in the third round. So he's 6 foot, 225 pounds. He is a big running back. He's a thumper, but dude can move. Iowa running back Kaleb Johnson had an incredible season, solidifying his spot in the NFL draft conversation. At 6 foot 225, he's a rare mix of power and agility, like a pitcher with both a fastball and a changeup. Whether breaking tackles or outrunning defenders, Johnson consistently shines against elite competition. Once in the Heisman Trophy discussion, his stock only continues to climb. Kaleb Johnson can come in here and be your new bell cow lead running back. And I'll just go ahead and say now, I do take a second running back in this mock draft. That's the position I double up on. And I'm still signing Nick Chubb back to a little bit over the vet minimum because he wants to come back to Cleveland. We're not paying out the butt for a 29, almost 30-year-old running back coming off of 2 season-ending injuries now, and nobody's going to. I don't want you guys to think it's just the Browns that are going to be cheap with Nick Chubb. Nobody's giving him big money or anything. No one's giving him a 3-4 year contract. It's not going to happen. So we get Nick Chubb back. We draft Kaleb Johnson. Those two are your bigger bruiser thumper backs, but Kaleb Johnson has that youth, the burst, the speed that you want out of a young running back with that size. And then I'll talk about the other running back that I drafted later on to complement those two. And if you guys can hear my baby crying in the background, it's feeding time here at the All household. But I'm hoping this mic is kind of blocking a lot of that out, but I can hear it. Anyway, so moving on to pick 94, we have the 30th pick in round 3. So we get a top pick in the 3rd round, and then one of the last picks in the 3rd round. Those are our 2 third-round picks. And I selected Jaylin Noel, the wide receiver out of Iowa State. 5'10", 200 pounds. Jaylin Noel is a guy that so Derek Brown from Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros goes to the Senior Bowl every year. And, I really like his analysis on players, especially when it comes to wide receivers. He was the guy who came away from the Senior Bowl just pounding the table that Puka Nacua was going to be a star in the NFL. He was going to be slept on, he was going to be drafted later, and he was going to end up being a stud when he got to the pros. Lo and behold, he was absolutely right about Puka Nacua, and he's been right about a bunch of other players that I didn't really give too much attention to until I listened to him and read some of his work. He came away from the Senior Bowl this year flag planting Jaylin Noel. And he said he was the best wide receiver at the Senior Bowl. Nobody could cover him, made all the catches. His route running was crisp. And, like I said earlier, the Browns have never, under Andrew Berry, drafted a wide receiver before the 3rd round. Jaylin Noel right now projected to be available around that late 3rd round pick. And if he's there, he's a guy that I think could come in and really contribute to the wide receiver core. So a couple write-ups on Jaylin Noel. With 1,013 yards and 6 touchdowns this season, Noel's explosive release and stride make him tough to defend, while his improving route running adds to his game. He can push for a day 2 pick in the 2025 NFL draft. And then I wanted a little more analyst write-up on him. So I went to NFL. They finally, the NFL has their official draft profiles starting to be uploaded. And they said that Noel's blend of receiving and return talent could carry more sway with teams given the league's new kickoff rules in 2024. Now, he's primarily a slot receiver, but has enough size and speed to kick outside in a pinch. His routes can be a little unfocused, but that's correctable with coaching. What can't be coached is his consistent play speed. He can accelerate and separate from turns and stems and tends to uncover on cross-country routes. The catch focus can be inconsistent, but he is willing to mix it up in the middle of the field and is a natural after the ball is in his hands. Noel's upside and punt kick return value could make him a day 2 pick with the potential to develop into a starter. I'm taking a wide receiver that I feel confident can mix in with Judy, Tillman, and anybody we sign in free agency. And he's got very good ceiling upside in the return game, something the Browns desperately need. So if you can nail those 2 needs in one player, that's what I'm looking to do. And Jaylin Noel is my guy that I'm going to be watching as the draft season unfolds and we get closer and closer. We go through the combine and into into late March and heading into April. All right, pick 103, the second pick in the 4th round. I took Dorian Strong, the cornerback from Virginia Tech. I have the wrong stuff here. 6 foot, 185 pounds. I have 305 in my notes. That is a copy and paste error because there's no way he's that heavy. 6 foot 185, Dorian Strong is a skilled and instinctive cornerback who excels in man coverage, but is also more than competent in zone coverage schemes. He possesses fluid hips, quick feet, strong closing speed, allowing him to stick with receivers and disrupt passing lanes. Strong's ball skills stand out as he consistently tracks the ball and makes plays on it in contested situations. He plays with physicality at the line of scrimmage, using his length effectively to disrupt routes. Strong's football IQ and anticipation enable him to read quarterbacks and jump routes, but can also make him vulnerable if he mistimes the play or double moves. Additionally, adding strength will allow him to handle bigger receivers and further enhance his game as a lockdown defender. This guy kind of sounds to me a little Martin Emerson-ish. This is a guy I'm taking at the very top of the 4th round, and it sounds like a guy that, given the correct, defensive scheme, coaching, all that kind of stuff, the opportunity could develop into a guy that plays a lot on Sundays. And I really like what I've been reading and seeing with Dorian Strong. So that was my pick here at the top of the 4th round. Now, once the league season opens up, I know there's been some chatter. Are the Browns going to give, an extension to Greg Newsome? Are they not? Are they going to trade him? What's the deal with Greg Newsome? We'll see. If Greg Newsome sticks around, maybe the Browns don't take a cornerback this high in the draft. But, this is where I'm going right now for my mock 1.0. And what I really wanted to say is these first 5 or 6 picks, and I'm going to put a graphic out on social media with this mock draft after the episode is over. But the first 6 picks are on the left side of the graphic. These are guys that I'm expecting, or I shouldn't even say expecting. These are guys that if I'm the Browns and I'm drafting here, I need these 6 players to be either starters or key contributors year one. And if they're not, they need to have shown some potential in training camp, preseason, maybe some spot starts or spot moments where it's like, hey, next year we got a guy at this position. Dorian Strong could be that type of guy because you got your 3 cornerbacks, but then you get him rotating in. It's like, ooh, hey, we don't need to extend Greg Newsome, or hey, we need to get Martin Emerson in here. We can restructure Denzel Ward, and then we got Dorian Strong as our CB3. And then this next guy, my next pick, is one of those that I don't project to start or play a lot this year outside of injury, but he's a guy that I'm loading up, sort of like the Browns did with Zach Zinter last year. Didn't have an open starting spot for an offensive guard, but we're going to need one in the near future, and that's what exactly I did here at pick 175. With the 26th pick in the 5th round, I took Seth McLaughlin, the interior offensive lineman, center guard from Ohio State. 6'4", 305 pounds. Now, ESPN has McLaughlin ranked currently as their number 1 center in this class. Now, their mock draft database has him in this range, so he is coming off an ACL or an Achilles tear, so that could be something to keep in mind. But, like I said, not a guy, kind of like they did with Zinter, it's very similar. Coming off a season-ending injury, the guy's got some talent. He'd probably be a higher pick if he wasn't coming off that injury. The Browns were able to land him knowing we really don't need much out of him this year unless, Teller or Bitonio get seriously injured. Same with Seth McLaughlin. We've got Ethan Posick. We've got Zinter backing up those guards. If Seth McLaughlin needs a little more time to get back to get right after that Achilles tear, we have the luxury of giving him the 2025 season to do it, knowing full well in 2026, this dude's going to probably be one of our starting linemen, maybe the starting center. So 6'4", 305, like I said, highly intelligent center-only prospect coming off an Achilles tear. McLaughlin has his itinerary fully mapped pre-snap, but makes quick alterations when needed. He's gritty with good core strength. He has the range and radar to pull effectively and operates with timing on workup blocks. He lacks ideal knockback pop at the point, and his block sustain could take a small downturn against NFL power. He's technically sound in protection, but a lack of strength and range causes it to get leaky when rushers find his edge. His injury status could hurt his draft slotting, but he has the makeup and consistency to make it in the league. So here at pick 165, I went Seth McLaughlin. This episode is brought to you by Danger Coffee. Browns fans, we talk about how Danger Coffee is made free from mold toxins that are in 45% of the world's coffee, but that's not all that Danger Coffee has to offer. Mineral and nutrient deficiencies are a big deal. They make you feel sick, tired, stressed, and they can give you brain fog. These deficiencies negatively affect your immune system, your digestion, sleep, metabolism. Have you ever wondered why you get an initial burst from your coffee, but then you get that little crash not long after? Danger Coffee's patent-pending process remineralizes your body with more than 50 trace minerals and electrolytes, leaving you more energized, engaged, powerful. These micronutrients enter the cells to boost performance. They bind to toxins to provide detoxification support. I know that sounds like a lot, but the bottom line, guys, is minerals matter, and most of us really don't get enough of them on a daily basis. Danger Coffee delivers micronutrients, plus it gives you access to the minerals you already have. Head to dangercoffee.com, use our code DAWGS, DAWGS, for 10% off your order. And that code can be used over and over. So you get 10% off every order you make using code DAWGS. It's time to start every day off with a cup of coffee that gets you going and actually keeps you going. Dangercoffee.com, code DAWGS. Okay, so now we're going to migrate over to the right side of the graphic that you guys will see after the episode is over. The second half of our draft picks. So we've got 12 picks. The first 6, like I said, I need these guys to be starters or key contributors in year 1, or in, like the situations with Strong and McLaughlin. Okay, maybe you guys are contributing somewhat in year 1, projected to have a much larger role in year 2, but that's what I need out of that side of the graphic. The second half of the picks, the second 6, these are guys that I need on special teams. I need filling depth at key positions and places where we're pretty weak. One thing that I think I might have to change it for my next mock draft, I did not take a defensive tackle on the first 6 picks, and I can't remember if I said this or not, but Andrew Berry has always taken a defensive tackle in every single draft, at least one. He's taken 5 total, and he's always taken 1 in every draft, and he has never taken his first defensive tackle later than the 4th round. So here I am sitting at pick 194, the 16th pick in the 6th round, and I still haven't taken a defensive tackle, and I'm not going to. So this is where I think I might have to change it up if I'm trying to really get into the philosophy and predict what the Browns are going to do versus what I want to do. But here at pick 194, I took Tyler Batty, I don't know if it's Batty or Beatty, but it's the edge rusher out of BYU, 6'5", 275 pounds. Tyler Batty, a 5th-year senior from BYU, is a highly instinctual and physically robust pass rusher known for his intense awareness and anticipation. As an exceptional run defender with a long frame and powerful playing style, Batty offers NFL teams a reliable and high-floor prospect. His mauling mentality and strong foundation will enable him to contribute immediately at the professional level while further developing his pass rushing skills. It kind of sounds like he could be your poor man's Jadeveon Clowney as a rookie. And quite honestly, I don't know what the Browns are going to do in terms of their edge rushing situation with Myles Garrett requesting the trade. We really only have Isaiah McGuire. Alex Wright was injured last year. I don't know about his development. I don't know what we're going to do. This could be a more pressing need after free agency and we see what happens. But this guy being available in this range sounds like I can't miss. Whether it works out or not, like this is a pick that you just can't skip, in my opinion. Okay. So now I move on to pick 202. That is the 24th pick in the 6th round. And here's where I took that running back to pair up with Kaleb Johnson and Nick Chubb, really revamp this running back room because I've got my Thunder and Nick Chubb. I've got Thunder with some lightning capabilities in Kaleb Johnson. Now I want my pure lightning. And I'm taking Kyle Monangai, the running back out of Rutgers. 5'9", 209, so a smaller guy. Kyle Monangai built on his breakout 2023 season at Rutgers with an even more dominant 2024, becoming unstoppable no matter the defensive game plan. He quickly surpassed his 8-touchdown total from last year. Monangai's mix of power and speed leaves defenders helpless. He shrugs off tackles with ease and outruns opponents in space. A natural fit for a zone read offense, Monangai's patience and vision make him an ideal complement to a receiving back in the NFL, showcasing a skill set that's both chaotic and electrifying. It's a hell of a write-up. And that's that's the kind of stuff whenever I say this draft is so deep at running back, I'm getting this guy right now in the range of 202. This is a 6th round pick, a late 6th round pick. So there are running backs to be had. We've seen later round running backs. Last year it was Bucky Irving and Tyrone Tracy. 2 years before that was Isaiah Pacheco for the Chiefs. And there are later guys that you can find. You get them into the right system, and this guy sounds like he would be the right fit for Kevin Stefanski's offense to complement Caleb Johnson and Nick Chubb. All right, at pick 206, Andrew Berry, you have got to buck the trend of not taking a tight end. Got to. And this is where, with the 28th pick in the 6th round, I'm taking Luke Lachey, the tight end out of Iowa, a guy that after the draft season kind of unfolds with the combine and all that stuff, I don't know if he's available this late, but we'll see. And right now, mock draft 1.0, this is where I'm taking him. 6'6", 247. Luke Lachey is a big-bodied and athletic tight end with a well-rounded skill set that makes him a valuable offensive weapon. His length and smooth acceleration off the line should serve him well as a seam stretcher. Lachey is also a fluid and technical route runner when he's working against air. He needs to develop his core strength to become more effective as a blocker, especially as that will likely be his path to playing time early in his career. Lachey is a perfect day 3 draft swing on an athletic tight end who could contribute as a tight end 2 and on special teams early in his career. And that's exactly what I took here at pick 206. 216, a couple picks later, pick 30 here in the 6th round. It's time to dip the toes back into waters that have not been dipped into very much under Andrew Berry, and that is the safety position. And I'm taking Dante Trader Jr. out of Maryland, 5'11", 196. Dante Trader Jr., dual sport athlete whose film shows off plus instincts but average consistency. Trader is a versatile cover safety capable of lining up at nickel, playing single high, or lurking in the role of a robber. He's quick to read and respond to the quarterback's eyes and operation, attacking throws at a disruptive angle when he can. He's athletic with a good short area burst, but his play speed in large spaces is average. He's quick to diagnose and race downhill, but is more of a worker than a true enforcer in support. Trader's football character and scheme versatility help his cause. He has a chance to earn a spot as a backup. Again, we're talking tail end of the 6th round, going into the 7th round. That's what you're getting. That's what you're hoping for with the guys you pick in this range. And, a safety who, again, just because you're taking guys late doesn't mean they can't develop into something special for your team. Ronnie Hickman is a better safety than Juan Thornhill, and he was an undrafted free agent. And now he probably should be our starting free safety in 2025. So you can get guys late that have, they need to have these skills. They need to have the traits and the abilities that you can see developing. If it all hits well, this guy can contribute for my football team. So I like Dante Trader Jr. there. So now we got 2 picks left. Our two, let's see. Oh no, I'm sorry. All right, that was pick 216. We've got back-to-back picks. I was wrong there. 216 and 217. So we got back-to-back picks at the end of the 6th round. So this is the 31st pick now in the 6th round. And I'm taking my first defensive tackle of the draft. Probably a lot later than the Browns actually will. But I like this guy. Nazir Stackhouse, defensive tackle from Georgia. It's about time we take a tackle or a defensive lineman from Georgia. You can't really go wrong with these guys. 6'3", 320 pounds. The write-up says Nazir Stackhouse is set to excel as an NFL nose tackle, using his strength to clog running lanes and disrupt offenses. A standout at Georgia, he effectively clears gaps and performs essential heavy work that often goes unnoticed. While his pass rushing ability is limited due to lighter footwork, his intelligence and physical prowess makes him a valuable defensive asset poised for success at the NFL level. Sounds pretty legit to me, and I will take Nazir Stackhouse here at 217. Don't know if this guy's available this late either, but currently, like I keep saying, here in February, it's where he's projected to go, so that's where I'm taking him in this first mock. And finally, we'll just wrap this thing up. I don't know how many people realize this, but we end the draft with pick 257, the 32nd pick in round 7, the Mr. Irrelevant pick in my first mock draft this year will be Karene Reid, the linebacker out of Utah. 6 foot, 226 pounds, undersized linebacker with a revved up motor and instincts that take him to the action. Reid comes from NFL bloodlines and plays the game with passion. He diagnoses quickly and is focused on getting to where he needs to be, but his lack of size and length will make it hard to leverage his gap as a pro. He's below average in coverage, but shows some instincts and talent as a blitzer. He saw limited reps on special teams, but has the motor and play demeanor for the job. And with my Mr. Irrelevant pick, that's kind of just what I'm looking for. You have the football instincts and the things that you need to maybe contribute here on special teams. And if you end up working your way into a role on defense at some point, awesome. But that's where I went here with 257. So to recap, pick 2, Shedeur Sanders, quarterback out of Colorado. 33, Josh Conerly Jr., the offensive tackle from Oregon. 67, Kaleb Johnson, the running back from Iowa. 94, Jaylin Noel, the wide receiver from Iowa State. At 103, I took Dorian Strong, cornerback out of Virginia Tech. 165 was Seth McLaughlin, the center out of Ohio State. 194, Tyler Batty, the edge rusher from BYU. 202 was Kyle Monangai, running back from Rutgers. 206, Luke Lachey, tight end from Iowa. 216, Dante Trader Jr., safety from Maryland. 217, Nazir Stackhouse, defensive tackle from Georgia. And to end the entire draft, 257, Karene, Reid, the linebacker from Utah. That's the first mock draft of the season, guys. I want to know what you think. Drop everything in the comments I should have said this at the beginning of the show, but I want to know what you think. I want to hear what your perspective is on these players, on the Browns draft mentality, because I'm not just trying to come in here and say, oh, look, I drafted 3 quarterbacks, 4 receivers, 2 tight ends, and a couple tackles. I fixed the offense. That's not what the Browns are going to do. I'm trying to realistically put together a mock draft that could look similar to something the Browns might end up with in April. Now, do I think the Browns make all 12 of their picks this year? No, I don't. I think that they are going to use some of these picks to move around. I could potentially see them using maybe that second pick, 94, in the 3rd round to pair up with 33 to maybe move up into the late 1st if there's a guy kind of falling down the board that they really like. You could see him move up. You could also see them move back a little bit. I would imagine they'd want to collect more picks maybe for next year. I don't know what you would do with more picks for this year, but it takes a long time to go through a mock draft just for this year with 12 freaking picks. But we did it. I want to know what you guys think about each of these players. Who would you have taken differently at each spot? Head over to NFLmockdraftdatabase.com. I think it's .com. I got it pulled up here. Let me check. Yep, NFLmockdraftdatabase.com. Check out their big board. They just give you that range of where players are going currently in all the mock drafts. It's the best resource that I have found so far when putting these type of things together. So use that as your baseline to tell me who you would have taken in some of these spots differently than what I did. And maybe positionally, what do you think the Browns are definitely taking a defensive tackle earlier in the draft like they usually do? Do you think they pass on a cornerback, maybe take one later like they have been? Do they take a wide receiver later? Or do they go wide receiver running back at 33? Let me know what you guys think. Want to hear everybody's thoughts and opinions on the draft. The conversations are great, and it helps me to get an ear for new players that I haven't looked into yet. And hopefully I'm helping you guys look at some players that you are unfamiliar with to this point. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, make sure you like the video, tap the notification bell after you subscribe here on YouTube, and make sure you guys give us a 5-star review on all the audio platforms. We appreciate you all. JoinTheDawgs.com is where you got to go if you want to help support the podcast and be part of our Dog Pack community. Get involved in all the cool things we have going on. And it's just a great community. And honestly, we have become really good friends with a lot of the people in there. So you guys are the best. The Dog Pack is our family, and we love you guys. And everybody else tuning in, appreciate you. Make sure you guys check back next week. We'll be back with new episodes. And stay tuned. There will be more mock drafts coming as the draft season unfolds and the NFL draft gets closer. Until I see you guys in the next one, let's go Browns.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at the Dawgs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedawgspodcast.com.
This episode is brought to you by Bought In Sports. Browns fans, Baden Sports is your one-stop shop for all your athletic gear. Baden started out perfecting and manufacturing the best balls in the business. Yeah, if that sounded dirty, that's more about your mind than my words. But hey, it's true. Baseballs, softballs, footballs, basketballs, volleyballs, soccer balls, you name it, and Baden has engineered the highest standard sports balls available. And now they offer more than just sports balls. If you got kids playing baseball or softball, Baden has batting gloves and bats to go along with both game balls and training balls. If you're into basketball, Baden makes basketball specifically for indoor or outdoor use. Heck, Baden even has all the equipment you need for pickleball, which is one sport that I hear everyone is playing and yet I still never have. And I need to fix that soon. But don't miss the backyard games section of Baden's website where you can order everything you need for this upcoming outdoor season. Pool balls, backyard volleyball nets, croquet, bocce, horseshoes, cornhole, and more. Right now, you can get 10% off your entire order at Baden Sports, BADEN sports.com/dogs, DAWGS, and use promo code DOGS when you check out. That's 10% off all the top quality sporting gear you need this season. BadenSports.com/dogs.